Hello everyone, this is Chocolate here, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my second top 10 most interesting terminal entries of Fallout 4. If you don't see an entry you were hoping for on this list, it may have been mentioned in the first video. Otherwise, please enjoy. Up at number 10, Statement of Intent. This will be my first and only entry. I identify myself as a free-thinking citizen of these once great United States. I will not stand idly by as the government infects the minds of its people with devices like the electrical tower they've erected in my front lawn. I pledge to take down this mind control device by any means necessary, and have begun construction on an incendiary device. If you are reading this, I have certainly been killed or detained in a government interrogation camp. The news will surely warp the truth and brand me as a communist traitor. Do not believe their lies. Let all true patriots know what I do of my own free will and for the good of my country. Wayne Gorski was a libertarian survivalist before the Great War who became outraged when an electrical pylon was installed near his home. He planned to use his knowledge of explosives to blow up the pylon, but the bombs falling halted his plan. He was eventually transformed into a feral ghoul. This entry can be found on his terminal. 9. Client, Kent Connolly. The Memory Den in Good Neighbor is a unique establishment that allows clients to relive their memories. The proprietor, Irma, keeps a log of her interesting clients on the Memory Den terminal, and her most personal one is about the ghoul Kent Connolly, who actually lives in the den. All of his memories are about that Silver Shroud radio show he's always going on about. That reminds me, I keep telling him to keep all of his posters and toys inside his room. They always seem to spill out into the main floor. Poor Kent. People may gossip about the den taking advantage of him, but the truth is he's our biggest charity case. If I live to be over 200, I know I'd be tired of the real world too. What's the harm in letting him dream a little longer than the next fella? Amari put in some safety settings into his memory lounger so that he doesn't starve himself to death. Far as I'm concerned, if he wants to live out the rest of his days plugged in and occasionally waking up to eat and stare at his poster collection, that's his choice. 8. J. Elwood Confidential. When the bombs fell, Director John Elwood of Cambridge Polymer Labs locked all of the scientists within their labs, keeping them safe and pushing them to finish their project on creating new power armor for the military. Elwood learned that the scientists would be left to die if they did not prove themselves useful, but kept this information to himself. He only shared it with his wife, as we can read on Erica's terminal. Erica, I've sent an explanation to the team, but I need you to know what's actually going on. Please do not share this with anyone else. It may start a panic. This morning I got a call from Colonel Kemp, and he told me to keep our team in the lab, but before I could ask, he hung up. The sound you heard outside was an atomic bomb going off. It seems to have hit southwest of the city. The phone lines have been jammed, but I found a way to reach Kemp's liaison, and he informed me that they could only afford a detail to escort us to safety if we have vital military assets or intelligence. That is why we need to get the project finished. I love you. I know you can do this. John. 7. Journal entry XX32999. Date out of range. Like the Death Claws, the Gator Claws of Nuka World's Safari Adventure were a man-made creature, genetically engineered by Dr. Darren McDermott. McDermott was employed by Nuka World before the war and was the only survivor. He lived for 200 years as a ghoul, but became frightened at raiders encroaching on his home. Using his knowledge, he attempted to create a guardian, as we can read from his terminal in the Welcome Center. My attempts at creating the Gator Claw continue. I have the correct samples of Jackson Chameleon and American Alligator in the mix, but keeping sample Q334 stable continues to elude me. If I intend to create a guardian creature for Safari Adventure, it has to be able to listen to and comprehend my commands. I was hoping the brain cells from Q334 would do the trick, but I've seen failure after failure. I hesitate to throw the switch and see what happens. What if I can't control it? What if it ends up attracting more attention to the park? I think I'll check the sequence a few more times just to be sure. Unfortunately, McDermott died at the hands of his creation. With his dying breaths, he implored the only humans in Safari Adventure, Ceto, to stop the replicator machine creating the Gators. Ceto gave McDermott a proper burial. 6. Daily Observation 09HJ907. Like all Vault-Tec creations at the time, the exhibit Vault-Tec Among the Stars in the Galactic Zone in Nuka World was a place where unwitting populace suffered at the hands of the scientists and their inhumane experiments. One scientist, R. Langston, was stationed at Experiment 2, which was testing the effects of subliminal messages on the visitors who entered the exhibit. He documented his findings and opinions in his observation terminal. Went a little too far with the orange grade stuff today. I'm pretty sure the shove the visitor in front of you suggestion got through to this lady and she did exactly that. Unfortunately, the other lady she shoved wasn't so forgiving and they started a fist fight. Had to hit the alarm and security pulled them out of the exhibit. Dr. Bateman told me to just go with the blue grade for a while until things calmed down, maybe a few days at most. To tell you the truth, I'm glad to make the switch. The orange grade stuff kinda scares me. Come to think of it, what scares me more is that we have red grade holotapes too. Never use them, and I hope we never will. 5. Up Top Land Heroes. Vault 75 was created under the guise of providing a shelter for children in the event of a nuclear war. When the bombs fell, families with children were let in and separated. The adults were murdered, and the children were put through cruelly rigorous testing, education, and brainwashing to become strong, intelligent soldiers. The classroom terminal contains one of the propaganda pieces used for educating the young children and is as follows. There was once a little girl named Sue and a little boy named Roy. Sue and Roy grew up in a very special place called Vault 75. They learned and trained and played there. How they trained! Sue and Roy were both growing up big and strong when one day Sue and Roy were asked to visit the overseer. "What's wrong, overseer?" asked Sue. "Why are you crying, overseer?" said Roy. "It's just awful," cried the overseer, wiping a tear from her eye. "Have you children ever heard of Up Top Land?" Sue and Roy blinked and shook their heads. "What's that, overseer?" they asked. "Oh, it's a terrible place," began the overseer, and she told the children about Up Top Land. She told them about the people living there, and how they weren't safe or strong like the children at Vault 75. Monsters attacked them, and evil bandits stole their food, and it was no place for little children to grow up, no, not at all. "Those poor people!" exclaimed Sue. "Why does nobody help them?" wondered Roy. "That's just it, children," the overseer told them. "They need somebody big and strong to protect them." "Who will help them?" Sue and Roy asked. "One day, children, you will," said the overseer. "That's why you must do your best at classes and training every day, so you can grow up big and strong and go make Up Top Land a happy and safe place for the poor people who live there." Sue and Roy smiled at that and ran off to their lessons, eager to help. 4. Samuel. I tried again to end it. I was out on the wharf trying to look through the fueling station when I glanced at the water. He was there in the reflection, my grandson Samuel, and my arm was around him. Then there was a noise, and my reflection's eyes glow red, and when it opens its mouth, there is static. When the static turns into a scream, it pulls the gun to Samuel's head and pulls the trigger. I can feel some water in my lungs, but their programming won't let me end it. My body climbed to the shore on its own. Phyllis Daly is a settler living alone in Egret Tours Marina. After blacking out and waking up to her grandson dead in front of her, she started to believe that she was a synth and that the Institute used her to kill. She became a recluse in the hope to protect others, and logged her frightening dreams on her terminal. 3. Log 2. Vault 95 was created to help addicts overcome and recover from their addictions after the war. The residents of the vault supported each other and eventually became quite a family. Unfortunately, the real test began 5 years after the vault was sealed, when the residents woke up to an open stash of chems. One resident named Jay Scott recorded the experience on his private terminal. "They knew what they were doing. They weren't trying to help us. I never thought I would see chems again. Why would I? But now here we are, with a whole lifetime's worth of the stuff laid out in front of us like a freaking department store window display, and it was there the whole time." Some cracked right away, grabbed what they could and ran off to get high. There was fighting. I hid. Nothing I could have done to help anyone. I'm still hearing gunshots. I'm not ready to give up what I had here. 2. XMB Booster Notes, 10-2077. Dr. Rory McKellen was a disillusioned scientist employed by Thomas Reinhardt of Arcjet Industries before the war. He was assigned as the lead developer of the XMB Booster engine, a nuclear-powered engine. After the completion, a press show was scheduled to show off the engine's power. However, something went wrong during the test fire, as we can read on McKellen's terminal. "I can't believe what I discovered today. I was going through our video recordings of all past test firings for the XMB, and I came across the carbon burn-off pretest I did back in February. On one of the angles, I swear I saw someone running across the bottom of the engine core right before the booster ignited. I took the tape straight up to Thomas and threw it on his desk. He took one look at the tape and then told me what happened to that poor man being burned alive. Then he told me how he had Brent cover the accident up. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I told him I was going to head straight to the police, but he threatened my life and my family's life. Now I don't know what to do. I think I have no choice but to bring the tape directly to the press tomorrow and hope the authorities can stop Thomas before he does anything stupid." And for number 1, Complaint Letter Draft. Principal Hudson, I am sorry to ask, but where has the integrity of this school gone? Forcing all the teachers and students to consume nothing but flavorless pink goo is inhumane and demoralizing. Food is an avenue of socialization for our students' growing minds, and they are growing restless of the paste. If nothing else, I am sure you have noticed the growing rate of visits to your office for misbehavior. Also, I could almost swear that everyone seems a little bit pinker after a week of eating the stuff. Please, I ask that we terminate this mistake of an experiment and find alternative funding for opportunities for the school. Mr. Smith, English Department. Before the war, Principal Jackie Hudson volunteered Suffolk County Charter School for participation in the government's Experimental Nutritional Alternative Food Paste Program, or NAP. The students and staff of the school were only allowed to eat the pink paste supplied for the school, and no outside food was allowed. The paste began to have negative effects on the students and staff, causing pinkening of the skin and increased irritability amongst the students. Now in the ruins of the school, pink, feral ghouls roam the halls. I hope you've enjoyed my list and found it helpful. Again, if you did not see an entry you were hoping for, I encourage you to check out my first video on this topic. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye!
Do you believe in kissing, honey? You bet I do. Well, I believe in kissing, honey, when the moon is new.
So as many of you know, I am a citizen of the USA, and currently our country is suffering from a crisis at the border. Immigrants seeking asylum in the U.S. are being detained. Families are being separated and kept in detention centers in horrible conditions. All of it is scary and horrible, and a bit hard to come to terms with. So until things start getting better, I'm placing this message at the end of all of my videos to try to use what little influence I have to bring awareness and help. There are a number of things you can do to help. One of the simplest things is to donate to Immigrant Families Together, who are fundraising money to pay the bonds of detained immigrants and also provide necessities to families such as hygiene products, food, and shelter. This organization is also looking for volunteers. You can also take direct action by calling your state's government's officials and try to make your voice heard, and also refuse to let your taxes go to fund these facilities. There are many groups online that are looking for help to make sure these people are treated like human beings and receiving the help they desperately need. Let's prove that there is still hope for humanity and help solve this crisis in the most humane way possible. Remember, showing kindness isn't political. It's just the right thing to do. Thank you.